How's it going, everybody? Destauch here, and today we're going to be talking about Marathon. Specifically, the pivot from the initial vision of the game into what it is now, which I feel like is moderately disappointing to see how their initial vision kind of evolved into what it is right now, and just my hopes for the future. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, right off the bat, I think Marathon looks pretty good. Nothing too special. Extraction shooter is something that I wish it wasn't, but we've known this for a very long time. Even from their initial announcement, we always knew it was going to be an extraction shooter. Was it a hard pill to swallow? Maybe. Just seeing Bungie's next big IP being something that seems a little generic, a little disappointing. But there are elements of it that still excite me. Some elements that I feel like need some tuning up. Specifically, the art style. Now, do I think the art style looks bad? No. I think it looks fine. I think that, if anything, it just needs a little bit of sprucing up. But it is disappointing to see it as it is now, especially when their initial vision was to be photographic realism. What that would mean, what that entails, we can see in the initial trailer, plus even the trailer that they released as a cinematic trailer alongside the reveal. What we saw initially was something that melded cartoonism with graphic realism. We saw realistic looking characters in a realistic environment, but with a lot of the features kind of washed over with simplistic color tones. Now, I find that a really engaging art style. It reminds me a lot of Mirror's Edge, which I loved as a kid. But seeing them pivot into something that is more Fortnite-y, I don't really enjoy it. Can they correct this? Maybe, but it doesn't seem like they're going to try to correct it, because it seems like it's just their vision now to have the game be more cel-shaded. Which, we lose out on a more individualistic art style, but it does make the game probably better to run on a lot of computers, which is probably what Sony wants, to have as many people playing this game as possible. So to pivot from a cartoonish realism to just a more cartoonish look makes sense financially. But other than that, another pivot was it moving from a more individualistic character creation into a hero shooter. Do I think this is something that is necessarily smart? Not really. I feel like the hero shooter genre is pretty saturated at this point. Overwatch basically dominated the market. Then Marvel Rivals came in. I don't see another shooter taking the place of those games. And basically, a lot of times in these markets, it's all or nothing. Say like Concord. Sony put millions of dollars into Concord, but it couldn't break into that Overwatch market. So the game basically collapsed in on itself. So if you're not going to get a huge amount of players into the game, I do fear cancellation. I've seen it with Gundam Evolution. We've seen it with Concord. And I don't want to see that happen to a Bungie IP, especially something like Marathon. There's a legacy there, and I feel like there needs to be justice given to this IP. Seeing what does excite me, I do like the idea of the social progression of the universe of Marathon within the game. To have, say, a player unlock a new area of the map and having the player base kind of know who that player is and kind of say, oh, that's the guy who opened up the diamond cave with all the good loot in it. It's that's really cool. What I don't like is to have no proximity chat. I think that's a pretty big mistake, and their excuse for it being too toxic is something that I understand. It's a toxic world out there, but to have the feature completely removed from something that is supposed to be more of a social game, I think is a pretty big mistake. So not a lot of micro level socialization between players, like talking to them in game, but macro socialization through events driven by player choice, which I think is really cool. Now, in terms of compartmentalizing everything, I'd say I think that the game might have a future. I do think it should be free to play. Apex is free to play. It's not an extraction shooter, but we are looking at kind of like a parallel genre with battle royale, extraction modes, kind of running parallel to what Marathon is doing. And I feel like making it free to play would be better in the long run. Mostly because I don't see this game making a big wave when it comes out. I feel like word of mouth is really what's going to drive players to this game. And if you're going to make it a hero shooter, you're going to have cosmetics. Make your money that way, because I don't think an upfront purchase is going to give this game legs, especially if you keep the release date to Borderlands 4. That's the next Borderlands. If you launch it on the same day as Borderlands, that's a huge mistake, because it's a looter shooter. I mean, extraction shooter, looter shooter, not that different. So you are going to have some overlap, I think, and it's a huge mistake. They should change the release date, and if anything, push the game back. Maybe do like an early 2026 release, because I feel like from what I've seen from the game needs some work. It looks fun, but there needs to be more content. I'd love them to polish that art style, and I'd love to see maybe a pivot from having no game chat to, implementing some of that. But anyways, that's just my general thoughts on Marathon. What do you guys think? Are you excited for Marathon? Do you think that this could be like Bungie's next big Destiny game or Halo game? I'd love to hear your comments. And without further ado, that was Destauch. I'll see you in the next one. Destauch out.